As I stand here, I'm not standing because I already accomplished. I want you to understand, I'm standing here not because I already accomplished. I'm still in the process. I'm still on the journey. I have some dreams, some ambitions. Some I accomplished, some I haven't. So a lot of my talk is going to be a little bit from my own personal experience, some from ground realities in the business world, how it works. My desire is I hope to inspire some of you and challenge some of you, but I want to impart something that will stick in your mind when you leave this college. I hope you take some of these points and implement it in your own life. It will make you a better person, better entrepreneur if you choose to go down that path. You know, criticism is an inherent part of life. You all agree? Criticism is an inherent part of life. From the moment you are born, even as you are going to school, then job, then of course being an entrepreneur, criticism is an inherent part of life. But we all perform despite criticism, sometimes from our own family, friend circle, or those in authority. You know, there was a US president way back in 1910. His name is Theodore Roosevelt. This is long before World War I. And I came across one of his quotes. I'm going to give a brief version of his quote. There was a time when I was running my first company, I faced so many challenges. Being an entrepreneur, especially running a company, is a lonely journey. You cannot tell certain things to anyone. Of course, you cannot tell certain things to your own family because the burden is heavy. So I came across this quote. Ever since, this quote really helped me to really stabilize my thinking. The quote is, "The man in the arena." Theodore Roosevelt, he gave this speech in Paris 1910. That's well before World War I. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marked by dust and sweat and blood, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. I'm going to give this my notes to Dr. Anil. Anyhow, you can Google this quote and read it. It's really inspiring. At the end of the day, we are all men and women in the arena. Whether you are looking for a job, you have to market yourself, starting from the resume. The interview skills, how you perform, it's a relative, right? Same thing when you're running a company or when you're in a project manager, you're always marketing yourself and also bringing things together. For me, the inspiration started way back in early 80s. I'm sure most of you haven't been born. I characterize myself as a boy with a dream from Vizag. I studied at Andhra University, Vizag. That's where some of my profound thought processes were developed. Some of the things taken deep root, that's my basis. Though I am from Guntur district, my formative life had taken a deep root in Vizag. While I was preparing for GRE and TOEFL, I picked up a book on the footpath. You know, in Vizag there is a place called Jagadamba Center. In Bangalore, it is called Majestic. In, I don't know what's Hyderabad. There are so many centers here. We always used to go to the Jagadamba Theatre, and then on one of the footpaths, I picked up a book. The title is What They Don't Teach You at Harvard Business School by Mark McCormick. What They Don't Teach You at Harvard Business School by Mark McCormick. Later on, this gentleman, Mark McCormick, he found what is called IMG, International Management Group. Essentially, they managed all the top 10 players in the world, whether it's tennis, golf, hockey, basketball. It's a fascinating read. He didn't write, he was not a professor himself, but the way he wrote, very conversational style. And as I was reading, this was during my third year, as I was reading, it's like my head was exploding. You know, he humanized business. He emphasized human relations. When you take care of the human relations, the business falls in place. And he talks about some of the golfers. In those days, there are no online transfers. Everything you give a check. Or sometimes even cash. So that became a sort of like made me think totally differently. Though I was an engineering graduate, I said, you know, one day I'm going to be in the US, I'm going to do something very unique. I'm going to be daring in some sense. Maybe I should say I'm a radical at heart. I'm a gentle soul, but I don't think like most of the people. Some of you are too. You are a radical in some sense, unbending, unyielding. You want to get things done. That's how I see myself. A dreamer, unafraid to do things. Later, when I was in when I went to US, I came across Zig Ziglar in a Bible study setting. I don't know how many of you are aware of Zig Ziglar. He's one of the top motivational speakers. His successor is also from Vizag, Mr. Krish Dhanam, whom I came to know and became a good friend of mine. And these men humanized business. They spoke in top 10 of US businesses. They coached executives. From these two, I gathered, when you take care of people first, the business sorts itself out. There is a book called Good to Great by Jim Collins. I don't know if any one of you read this one, but I highly recommend this book and also Mark McCormick book. Jim Collins talks about level 5 leadership. What this level 5 leadership means, you can accomplish greatly, but you also have a deep humility about yourself. If anyone had come to US, there is a large grocery chain called Costco. And he took the CEO of Costco as a role model. The book Good to Great by Jim Collins. And he talks about level 5 leadership. There are 4 levels before, but he highlighted level 5. And he had taken the CEO of Costco as the role model for his case study. And he said why some companies become great and some mediocre, some actually ho-hum, some wither out. And he talks about deep personal humility. You know, you can be a CEO of a top company and you can demonstrate great humility among your employees. And I should mention the recent executive, Pat Gelsinger. He stepped down from Intel, and I saw the similar characteristics. So, in our life journey, you are going to come across people that transform you, help transform you, challenge you, and these men and women we have to be thankful for. Just to give a little bit background, I worked briefly in Bangalore, then I did my MS from Texas A&M, then worked at Texas Instruments for another 15 years. And then my desire to do something unique started. There was a transition where our whole group of 600 engineers were shut down way back in 2007. I said, this is my one chance. So that's how my first company, Genesis LED Solutions, got started. And we did everything by the book. I hired some of my own colleagues, and it's a blast. So when it comes to entrepreneurship, I want to be honest, it's not for everyone. Really, it's not for everyone. Some of us have an itch to do something. Most desire to be employed by a reputed company and grow in ranks. Nothing wrong with that one, right? We need to have capable, talented workforce. But some of us, even in a class like this, if you see some of the US executives of Indian origin, not all of them have IIT background. Our own Satya Nadella, right? He's not from IIT. And when I looked at Texas Instruments, some of the CEOs didn't come from Ivy League schools. They came from average four-year college schools. I wondered, what's the difference? I want to tell you, as students graduating, it is your attitude determines your altitude. It is your attitude. Do whatever it takes to excel at work and be the spokesman for your own group. You be the leader. You jump in wherever there is a problem. You know, when I was at Texas Instruments, some of our top leaders, they used to be our mentors. You can choose, hey, can you be my mentor? One of my mentors said, Paul, don't wait for, someone is going to give you an assignment. If you see a problem, go at it and then start working on it, and then a team will follow you, and then the recognition comes. Don't worry about results. The very fact that you stand and you are willing to do something unique sets you apart. That's what we need in this world. You know, if you look at politics, there are a lot of people talk nonsense, but because they talk, people listen to him. Whether he talks nonsense or something worthwhile is secondary. Same thing in the business, especially when you're men and women of character and substance, you have nothing to be afraid. You see what I'm saying? You have absolutely nothing to be afraid. You have substance, you have character to execute. That's my encouragement to you. As graduating seniors, when you leave, you can be your own leader in your own right. Someone doesn't have to promote you, but you can start showing leadership qualities. I want to tell you a small story. When we started Genesis LED, we are like I have a few co-founders, and we hired a student from UT Dallas. I'm not going to say his name, but anything I say, if you work for an established company, let's say IBM or Amazon or Google, you have all these things in place. In a startup, sometimes all you have is a small desk and a small room. Sometimes there is nothing. You know, when eBay was started, how it got started, the CFO showed she doesn't have a table. So she went to Home Depot and she bought a table. That's how a lot of startups start, and then they become giants, right? So we hired this guy, and he's very articulate. And then every time I say something, he never said, oh, I don't have this, I don't have. Somehow he goes and figures it out. And then he starts explaining what he did and how it came together. And then he was learning on the job. He was learning on the job, and then he was excelling. Can I tell you the long story short? By 5th year, I made him director of technology. It's not really possible to be a director of technology. It takes at least 10-15 years. Because he has shown so much willingness to learn and perform and be creative about it with an excellent attitude. And then, of course, he was hired by one of the top 3 consulting companies. So, where I am going with this? As a businessman, my number one goal is to hit one bullseye. Bullseye means you have a target, right? You hit the dot right on the red circle. Every CEO, every startup wants to hit one bullseye. That's all there it is. But even the most successful CEOs, business owners, didn't hit it. Even Elon Musk and his colleague Peter Thiel, they had a string of failures. On the 4th or 5th round, they became successful at PayPal. You know what is PayPal? It's almost like your phone pay. And then they sold it. Then Musk went into SpaceX. Peter Thiel, now he's, I'm not going to talk much about Peter, but right now, he started Palantir. Now it controls a whole lot of things. How do you know you have what it takes to be an entrepreneur? All these maybe last 2+ years, you heard about mostly theoretical aspect of being in entrepreneurship, marketing, finance, all the various disciplines, how these are going to fit together, right? I'm going to give you just 3 pointers. If you are unafraid of others' opinion or failure, that means you have met one criteria. If you are going to be always concerned about what others think, my family thinks, oh, what if I fail? Then it's not for you. You are good for a job. You can excel in job. So this is an honest assessment. I saw a lot of people who failed, who made it big. That's number one. Number two, can you function well with great degree of uncertainty? Can you function well with a great degree of uncertainty? What it means is, when you're going places or doing something, people want to know every last details. Do I have this? Do I have this? Do I have this? But if you are going to be an entrepreneur, there is going to be a lot of uncertainty, a lot of what-if scenarios, a lot of contingencies. In the midst of all of it, if you can say, I'll figure it out. That's what we do as CEOs. We have to figure it out. If you can do that, that's another characteristic. The third one is, if you take a fish, it feels at home in water. If you can move like a fish without stress, strain in what you're about to do, then you can be an entrepreneur. Don't worry about all other things. That is your gifting, that is your calling. You're going to do it like a fish in the water, no matter what, you're going to maneuver yourself. So now let's talk about what it means to be a transforming or following the mold. Every business, whether it's a hardware or software, at the end of the day, it provides a service. Sometimes it provides service to the public, sometimes it provides service to businesses, sometimes it's a combination, right? And once the public or the other businesses accept your product or service, then you made it, in the sense that revenues start flowing, and then it's a matter of time how you go. Then you're going to grow the company. But there are so many things that happen in between. I'm just giving a gist of what it means to make a business work and thrive, then profitable, and then grow, right? I have a question. If you look at the Indian IT businesses, right? Majority of them are service oriented. Whether you look at anything from TCS to HCL, Wipro, whatnot, all of them are providing software services, whether it's a consulting or call centers, development, management. They're all service-based industry. There is a category in the industry, it's called service-based technologies. Of course, these companies, over a period of time, they do well. They adopt new technologies. They train their people professionally. But they always remain to be a service-based companies. The question is, I want you to think as the next generation. We talk about Indian prowess in IT technology, right? There is so much talk about being an Indian, you have an inherent advantage of able to speak in English. That's one thing that distinguishes, despite of our accent, whatnot, Indians, they manage well. But when you really look at it, I don't see any original product company from India. There are some coming up, but I never saw any global company that's in the top 20 in the world. Of course, you see TCS promoting Wimbledon or Australian Open and several golf events, but it is still a service-based company. They are dependent upon some foreign entities. Their ups and downs affect what happens on the ground here. So the question is, why there is no Facebook or a SAP, HP, Tesla, or Google, or you name it, any Instagram, Snapchat, with all this brain power, with all this human potential, why we don't see a breakthrough company that says, hey, this company is from India, a global company? This is a genuine question. I always thought about it, and some of my colleagues there, we debated. There is fantastic, human potential that migrated from India to US. And of course, some of you may say, yeah, hey, a lot of these US companies, even top companies, are run by Indian CEOs nowadays. If you look at Microsoft, Google, Adobe, you name it, even Federal Express, FedEx, IBM, they're all now headed by Indian CEOs. All these men have grown in ranks over a period of time, and then they have shown that they can run the company. But here is the key difference. None of them were built by the guy who is running them. That's the difference. So here is something, a challenge for you. If you are going to be a transforming leader, if you are going to be a transforming entrepreneur, if your calling is to do another service base, that's fine. But I'm looking for, in this growing AI space, maybe this is the time for Indian men and women to stand up and think boldly and big and say, I'm going to do something unique, and then this will be a global company. Don't think that just because you are a small PGDM college, yeah, who are we? Maybe we'll get a job and then we settle down, marriage and have families. Some of you maybe it might be, but I'm sure there are a few who have a itch to do something unique, challenging, transforming. For them, this is a wake-up call, a clarion call, a challenge. And anyone who are going to listen to this talk later on, I would say the same thing. Dare to be different. Dare to be different. In biblical speak, dare to be a Daniel. I saw some bright spots recently in during COVID. There were a lot of edtech companies showed up, nearly 2,000 plus edtech companies showed up, but everything flopped. By mismanagement and all, there now hardly are any of them exist now. The recent bright spot is Perplexity. How many use Perplexity here? A lot of you use Perplexity. Of course, I use Grok and all other chat GPTs, whatnot. But I was really impressed by Arvind, the way, I was reading about him and how he did all these things. This is a bright spot. We need more bright spots like this. A original company started by an Indian technologist, entrepreneur. So that brings us to the point, if I look at the top 20 Dow Jones companies by capitalization or by reach, you don't see any Indian company. We are now the largest populated country in the world, close to 1.5 billion. The future is bright. In every generation, there is an opportunity. Don't believe the hype, like a Zuckerberg, he's a college dropout, or Bill Gates made it. 9 out of 10 college dropouts really don't make it big. So my encouragement to you is, if you are going to do anything, at least work for 5 to 10 years. Learn the basics. Learn the realities. Put your hands. Don't be lazy. Excel. Be a leader first. Demonstrate that what you got what it takes. That's what Texas Instruments did for me. It's a semiconductor company, but we dealt with so many disciplines. When the time came, I said, I can do it. At the same time, I want to challenge from a different angle. Why there is no breakthrough company coming from India, like a Facebook or a Tesla or SpaceX? I saw some bright spots recently in the startup space, some Indian space exploration companies and in the EV space. Can I tell you openly and honestly, when I was growing up, the predominant thinking is be a bank employee or a teacher or a state government employee. Comfortable job, 8 to 5, job security, right? Who doesn't want it? You have job security, you never get fired, whatever happens. And then you are marketable in the sense of marriage and all kinds of other things. So our culture is risk averse. If you tell your father or mother, I'm going to do this, they'll say, they'll put you down. Some of your friends also, man, it's not for you and me. So there is a societal or a cultural way we look down upon entrepreneurs. You look at any sports. When Sania Mirza came to tennis, her highest accomplishment was coming to Cincinnati quarterfinals. That's her top of the accomplishment. She hit under 50 and then she went back. That's it. And right now there is one young man coming up. You look at golf. You take any sport. Last night we closed, we watched finals of FIFA. India didn't qualify being part of the league yet. So what's wrong with our culture? Why we look down upon our own? It's not because we don't have talent, we don't have dreams. Parental pressure, society pressure. Of course, there is a startup space booming among all the metropolitan cities. But this is the time I'm going to give an open challenge. I want you to dare to be different. What's the remedy? What's the remedy? How you are going to be a different kind of leader? Who is going to be daring? First of all, I would say, nothing comes easy. If running a startup and making something profitable is easy, a lot of people will do it. You know, Musk one time said what it means to be an entrepreneur. He said, when you're running a startup, it's like chewing broken glass and not telling anyone. Chewing broken glass and not being able to tell anyone. That's how it's a lonely journey. Here are a few points I want to tell you. Prepare yourself quietly wherever you are. Study the market and equip the skills. This school will provide certain skills. There are some skills. I had to learn so many things, from putting a business plan to investor presentation, so many things. I had to learn corporate finance, payroll, this and that, HR, everything on the fly, right? Find a trustworthy mentor. Find a trustworthy mentor who had accomplished something in his or her life. That's a key. Having a mentor really helps. Third thing is, find a co-founder who is equally hungry like you, or even hungrier, who is willing to dare to do something. Fourth one, there is this saying in startups, learn fast, fail fast, so you can work on your contingencies, your backup plans. Because you don't have the luxury of failing after 18 months. If you're going to fail in 4th month or 3rd month, then you can retool. If you need to raise capital or you want to wrap up the whole thing and move on and find a job, you haven't wasted. You can always take a second shot, right? So that's what it is. Learn fast, fail fast. Lastly, don't give up because you failed. Don't give up because you failed. That's when you need more grit and determination. You know, in Bay Area, where Pranav was until recently, the CEOs who failed, or the startup guys who failed, they were respected because this man stood in the arena. He failed, but he had tremendous experience. He can make it. So they'll put some value. Every failure is a stepping stone. I want you to think of that way. There is nothing to be afraid. There is nothing to be shameful when you fail in any aspect of life. Okay? We all fail, especially being an entrepreneur. You're going to fail, likely to fail, or more, I'm sure there will be more failures for a few years before you hit a bullseye. So don't be afraid. This is my few talking points that you can take home. If you are going to be a daring leader, an entrepreneur, you cannot think like someone who is working. Imagine you hit one bullseye, your life transforms from there onwards. You can empower others, you can mentor others, you can do a lot of good to the fellow human beings, the society, your families, the nieces, nephews that are looking up to you, you can help them, bless them. At the end of the day, we are not a one-man island, right? We are standing here because someone helped me, someone helped you to be here. So we need to be blessing to others at the end of the day. That's what I learned from this gentleman, the good to great, or even Mark McCormick. When we prioritize people, all other things fall in place. How much time I have? 15. I'm going to tell you a brief story about my startup company. I heard Dr. Anil mentioned some of you have already installed Eyekon. And our SaaS developer, Pranav, is right here, sitting in the front row. I called him Coding Ninja. That's his. I always give a nickname to all our staff, all our guys. That's a fun way to look at things. Work itself has an inherent pressure. And when I interviewed for Texas Instruments way back in 1993, my manager was just barely 3 or 4 years older than me, and his name is Jay. He said, hey, Paul, it's not all about work pressure. We need to have fun. Otherwise, you're not going to survive here. You're not going to thrive. So we joke around and all. But anyhow, I'm going to tell you about how this Eyekon came about. Prior to Eyekon, we have a company called iConnect. It's a small 5-inch monitor. It looks and feels like iPhone SE. That's how we designed. And it is supposed to help you establish seamless eye contact on any video call, whether it's a Zoom, Teams, WebEx. And what we do is we take the video call from the main screen and move it to this small monitor that is placed right above the webcam. Now that I have cleared my main screen, now I have freedom. I can do other things on my main screen, and my video call is right here, right above the webcam is there. When I'm looking at my monitor, I'm also looking straight into the webcam, so I'm making a seamless eye contact. Then came the Trump, we released the product last year, last June, and the Trump tariffs came, and then we sort of, like I said, we are going to deal with it differently. And right at that time, we launched an app. I wasn't happy the way it turned out, so we essentially canceled it. And then a friend of mine, a professor, he said, yeah, hey, I have this guy I coach. He was my PhD student. We had a technology, attention tracking technology, and then we can work together. So I made some deals with them. And then we were developing API. And as soon as I saw API coming together, I figured out I don't need my hardware. I can sell this independent of my hardware. Of course, they go together, but I want to decouple them, so I don't need my iConnect hardware. I can sell this as a SaaS app. And then from a corporate standpoint, from a purely financial accounting standpoint, I said we need to go and spin it off. So that's how we created Eyekon technology. There is another company called Eyekonnect Incorporated. And then, of course, we formed a small team. We have a supporting team, a couple of teams right here. With the help of our diligent teams, multiple people playing, we all work from different, I'm in Dallas, Pranav was in California until recently, and our API guys in Bangalore. We coordinate all the timings. We released it. We released our app in May. It's remarkable. I think we did it just under 5 months. For a software product to release, a SaaS product with all the bells and whistles, it's remarkable, when you really look at it. And we spent very minimal resources. And now we are launching a project called Eyekon University Success Program. We are going to make this available free to all US students. That's being worked out right now. And our next step is releasing a MacBook version that completes the phase 1 of the product. Then, of course, we are going to be looking at different verticals. How many have heard about blue ocean markets? You can just lift your hand. How many heard about blue ocean market? Okay. This app created several blue ocean markets that do not exist. There are multiple AI products in this space from Germany. There are 2 startups from Germany. There is Microsoft, NVIDIA, and then there are a couple of others. They all have products, but Eyekon is very unique. It created 2 or 3 market segments that I haven't seen. Even as the product was coming together, every time we mentioned, hey, this is good for proctoring, this is good for autism and ADHD training. Like that, there were so many, markets were exploding. So now we are focusing on some of the verticals. And our plan is to come to India sometime next year. Our current focus is mainly US. We want to grow, and then as soon as we see some benchmarks accomplished, we are going to spend some money, marketing wise. And then we are going to go to UK, Europe, and several other countries. So in closing, I want to say, no matter how well accomplished you are, we need to learn to be humble. We need to humanize businesses. We need to prioritize people. Just 3 months ago, before I came to India, Oracle fired 30,000 employees just with an email. Meta, Facebook, they just announced 8,000 layoffs. Amazon. See, this is an angle that we need to be thinking differently. And there was a time these companies were hiring people because they don't want to lose the potential. But then when the time came, they just discarded. So this is where I think we need to think differently. Prioritize people, and then the business takes care of itself. Or don't hire excess and then start firing. So this is an equation that's it's not easy to. I can stand and tell, but it's not easy to really implement. But it's up to each company and how they do the business. Lastly, you are the man, you are the woman in the arena. You have a great potential. Learn, master skill, be a great asset wherever you are. When you lighten the burden of your boss or your managers, they take notice. When you take ownership of a problem, any problem, sometimes it can be cross-functional. It's not just in your department, but it can be a cross-functional problem. You take ownership of the problem, you recruit one person here, one person there, and then when you bring a solution together, people notice. You are likely to become a leader in that company. And when you succeed as an entrepreneur or even otherwise, learn to be a blessing to those around you and those who are watching. May God bless you, and thanks for listening. And I'm open to take any questions.